What are you doing here?
We water people live here 'cause can go fishing. Fishes.
My fish bigger.
Ah, we hating Earth people
Why?
because them eat rats. That not good.
Fish good.
If you is kill them, we is give you big magic thing.
Big fish magic.
Magic thing is belong to great wizard before.
Great.
Arx Fatalis, which is Latin for Fatal Fortress, is a first-person dungeon-crawling RPG developed by Arcane Studios. It was first released in 2002 on PC and a year later on Xbox. Arx is the brainchild of French video game developer Raphael Colantonio. Colantonio entered the industry at the age of 18 after submitting a contest entry found in the pages of a French gaming magazine. The contest in question boasting a chance to play Origin's newest game, Ultima 8, before its release. Unbeknownst to him, but the magazine contest was simply a ruse concocted by EA in order to find fans of Origin's games to fill out a new French studio they were opening. Instead of playing Ultima 8, Colantonio was instead offered a job, which he took in order to get out of serving military service, which was mandatory in France at the time. Originally, Arx Fatalis was supposed to be the third entry in the Ultima Underworld series, but despite having support from former Looking Glass creative director Paul Neurath, this wouldn't be the case. EA apparently had a laundry list of demands that they wanted to be included in Underworld 3, so Colantonio decided to make his own IP instead. I don't even know what those provisions were, but knowing EA, he most likely made the right choice. They've really always been this way, haven't they? You can't watch yourself become a villain if you've always been one. So in 1999, Colantonio leaves, or escapes EA, and founds Arcane Studios. You know Arcane, they made the Kick game, and the Rat game, and the you should have named this thing anything other than Prey, but it's still a really good game. Don't you besmirch them, not everybody's perfect. You smug fuck. Wait a minute. Arcane had a cancelled Half-Life game? Hold the phone. Warren Spector was going to make a Half-Life game? Wait, okay. Somebody canceled a Half-Life game with a team led by Warren Spector, then he went on to make Epic Mickey? Warren Spector made Epic Mickey? Then that Half-Life game was given to Arcane to finish, and this was supposed to be a sequel to Opposing Force with Adrian Shepard and Father Gregory going through Ravenholm? They scrapped it after 9 of 10 levels were completed? I'm sorry. I just got comboed by disappointment right there. I don't even remember what game I was supposed to be talking about. So, Arx would be the first game released by Arcane Studios. After almost going bankrupt and nearly not being able to find a publisher, Arx was first released in Germany in June of 2002, then later in North America and Europe in November of 2002. That was messy, and I probably missed or bungled a whole lot of that story, but there is one more thing to talk about before we begin, and that is Arx Libertatis. Arx Libertatis is an open-source engine for Arx Fatalis. Libertatis modernizes Arx for newer systems, cleans up bugs, and adds some tweaks and fixes. Overall, it just spruces things up and makes it a better experience. There's no reason not to play with it. No reason to not play with. There's no reason to not play with. No. You should install it, because it makes game run nice. That's what I'll be showing here, and I'll leave a link to the mod in the description. I do love it when older games have something like this. It's the culmination of a lot of hard work and dedication made by fans to keep an old game alive, and it's a wonderful thing to see. Now on to the actual game. We start off making a character. I'm going to choose this gentleman because he looks like a confused homeless man, and that's going to become really thematically relevant in time. We also have to put some points in stats. Now, word to the wise, you're going to want to put some points in casting. You can put points in different places, and admittedly Arx doesn't trap you with as many useless skills as something like System Shock 2, but it really does feel like magic took priority. Arx is the mage game. Remember that. It'll save your life. It's such a great way to start our adventure. We're gonna need a little bit of history before we start proper, ain't we? Arx takes place in the fictional land where the sun has gone dark. Since the face of the world is now barren, frozen hellscape devoid of all life, the various races of the world agreed to a shaky alliance and pushed the city of Arx down into some old dwarven tunnels. Every race gets their own little section of the tunnels, and things are going about as well as you would expect. Oh, and there are rats. Big rats. But they were already down here, no doubt sharpening their knives and hoarding all their sweet, sweet floor pizza.
Live your best life.
So we awake, naked, nameless, and stuck in goblin jail. The main character doesn't really seem to have a lot of questions or concerns, considering he just phased into existence like the damn Terminator. Either way, lucky for us, these are exceptionally, and dare I say, charmingly stupid goblins. So we bust out and free the guy in the cell next to us. His name is Koltar. Is he important? No. Did I need to introduce him? Probably not. Do I have a joke to finish this bit off? No. Since we don't have a name, or pants, Koltar gives us a moniker, Shigar, a title meaning he who has no he who has no name. And then we jump down a hole. I need to take a quick moment to talk a little of the player character here. Shigar is a strange man, and that is made apparent almost immediately. He has this deadpan, nearly expressionless tone.
Find someone else to help. I have my own problems to deal with.
And seems to be constantly bored. His general demeanor screams of somebody who is perpetually annoyed by having to interact with people, but despite being inconvenienced by them, wants to help out anyway. It's definitely a strange direction to go for your player character, and definitely a vibe. He does not seem to have that guy energy, but we'll talk more on that later. So we jump down the hole, fight some critters and goblins, and big goblins. Free a goblin from jail and just do general murder hobo shit. If we explore around a little, we can find a troll named Gru. Gru is sad because he can't hang out with the other trolls because he's a neat, and would rather fuck around in damp caves all day creating various statues than work for the goblins in their mines. We got a lot of folks with relatable vibes in this game so far.
Some may live here, unarmed with fishes. Fish not give orders, and me eat them.
We come across our first human settlement, and these guys look kinda fucked. The captain of the guard tells us that his checkpoint was attacked by a group known as the Yilsids. Apparently a single guy strolled in and killed damn near everybody. The captain asks us to inform the Kingdom of Arx of the attack, and we begrudgingly accept. He gives us a gem dealer's license and tells us to get up to Arx via the goblin territory. Goblins don't like humans in their territory, but they like gems, so gem dealers get a pass. We get the goblin we freed from prison to sign our papers and head off to Arx. We talk to the captain of the guard and some weird kid, and then head off to meet the king.
Beware. We're watching you.
Looks like we can just waltz right into the king's chambers and talk to the guy. He asks us to help clear the tunnels the Yilsids destroyed. Easiest way to get that done would be troll labor, but the trolls are on strike. So we're tasked with going down into the troll kingdom to find out why. But before that, God damn, I love watching this man work. While exploring the troll camp, we meet a troll who knows Gru, and tells us that Gru was born in the tunnels and has never seen the outside world. So pictures of the world would be a perfect present for him. We also learn that the trolls are on strike because their idol has been stolen. I'm gonna abridge the hell out of this, but this is all due to goblin scheming. So we get the idol back, and get the tunnel reopened, and the king is happy.
One more day in paradise.
Shigar finds out that competence is a curse, because he's immediately conscripted to do more labor for the king. As it turns out,
Phelan Orbiplanix, our old astronomer.
Kajunsite. So, who got killed?
Phelan Orbiplanix, our old astronomer.
Listen, I know this is a French game set in a fantasy world, but come on. What kind of Elon Musk-ass name is that? You know what, maybe that was a little too harsh. This is nowhere nearly as bad as a Musk name. We start our investigation off by talking to the snake woman who runs the library of Arx. She's not much help, but she does give us a book for Gru. Next, we talk to the alchemist, and are given a scrap of paper with a riddle on it. So this is about as far as I've gotten in this game. I usually get to the murder investigation, explore the crypts for some reason, and then give up or move on to a different game, for one reason or another. I actually don't even know how you're supposed to get down to the crypts naturally. I always just pick the lock. There are a bunch of zombies and mummies down there, and when dealing with the zombies there's a touch that I really like. If the player has a wooden stake, they can just stake the zombie to kill it before it gets up, and any zombie that isn't staked gets back up eventually. It kinda reminds me of another game I really like. We get to the bottom, and are greeted by a ghost and a dial puzzle. I'm not gonna lie, this puzzle is the first time I've turned to the internet to figure out what to do. In the game's defense, it was a pretty good puzzle. I just wasn't paying close enough attention. Unfortunately, I do not have footage of this, because I didn't think the tomb raid was going to be relevant. More on that later. Before I got allured by the dizzying highs of grave robbing, I promised the shopkeeper woman I would search for her missing child. Apparently that weird kid has gone missing. Now left with nothing but a bag full of loot and post-crypt clarity, we can aimlessly wander around the various anthill-like caves of Arx. Alright, what the fuck is all this about? Remember, be subtle. Holy shit, they got the weird kid. Don't worry, kid, I'm gonna... Holy shit! I don't think they'd let you put something like that in games anymore. Can we roll that again? Holy shit! Brutal. Thankfully, Arx is a game that lets me save scum egregiously. Aw, come on, how'd she die this time? Jesus. There we go. Now run on home, you weird little moppet.
Help me! Carlo! Help me, please!
When we return to the shopkeeper, she gives us a bunch of goodies. Just another day in the life of Shigar.
You have a big nose.
What the fuck, kid? I just saved you from becoming a red mist. What was I supposed to be doing? Oh yeah, the murder. Alright, I'm gonna put a spoiler break up here. If you don't want the rest of this game's story spoiled, you can go to here. In the meantime, while we wait for you to make your decision, we can listen to some sweet, sweet bard music. Alright, I found Fallon's journal. I'm not going to tell you where, but let's just say I didn't need to wander around nearly as much as I did. We bring the journal to the king, and he summons the Council of Elrond. As it turns out, Fallon uncovered a cult trying to manifest an evil god by the name of Akba in Arx. Upon discovering this, Fallon contacted a dimension known as the Nodin. These otherworldly beings sent forth a champion known as a guardian to stop the to stop the manifestation of Akba in Arx. It is said that the Guardian will have a reaction to a meteorite piece that is related to Akba. We are tasked with finding this Guardian. So we're given the meteorite piece and...
Welcome, Guardian. Allow me to explain.
Remember when I said that Shigar didn't have that guy energy? Well, I was wrong. The entire reason we're here is because we were sent here by a race of omnipotent frog people. The reason we help out everybody who asked is because that is literally what we were sent here to do. The reason we can level up and gain power quickly is because we are an otherworldly being. We phased into this world like the Terminator because we are literally the fucking Terminator. I don't know about you watching, but I think this is just such a cool reveal. It's not shocking, and honestly it's pretty easy to see coming, but it's just so cool having everything about this character, from the way you level up to the weird deadpan delivery, be plot relevant. It makes Shigar feel like more of an actual character, despite not having much of one. And it makes the game world feel all the more real when you consider that all the game's systems have an actual lore-friendly reason to be there. It feels like a step they didn't have to take just to immerse the player into the game world, and this is something that Arx tries to do a lot, which, despite its clunkiness in some areas, is something I really do appreciate. Alright, where were we? So, we don't have to find the Guardian, because Shigar is literally him. So, we're tasked with destroying the cult of Akba. We are also given a spell by the Snake Woman. This spell is extremely important because it activates the fast travel points on each of the floors. You need to pay attention to the runes she gives you because this spell is not in your spellbook. So if you're not paying attention, like I was, your dumbass is gonna have to go look it up online. The point I'm trying to make is that it should be in your spellbook, and yes, I am still kinda mad about it. We also hear the king and the snake women talking about some rebels that murdered the king's wife and infant daughter, and stole a precious artifact called Krauhaus. But we're told not to meddle in this affair. Yet. After I handed in Fallon's notebook to the king, one of the guards was jailed for practicing black magic. We question this goober and get a password that'll help us into one of the cult's safe havens. In this safe house, we meet our big bad. Well, kind of. This is the guy trying to manifest Akba in Arx. His name is... The fuck is with these names? Iserbius. His name is Iserbius. He summons a jank demon, and we bonk it until it goes back to the pit, save the woman tied to the slab, and destroy the rock. Except we can't. It turns out that the rock is too powerful, and Akba can steal our energy when we touch it. To negate this, we need 2 magical rings, Krauhaus and Zohark. These will make us immune to all forms of magic draining, and allow us to destroy Akba's meteor. Looks like we're gonna have to get involved in this rebel situation after all. So we're chilling out Max, relaxing all cool, wandering aimlessly around some underground pools. It gave me a nosebleed. I yet again have lost all leads for where I'm supposed to go. When I spy a name on my map, someone named Alia is wandering around, and as I approach, I am greeted by the woman who I saved from Akba's temple. She immediately has some goons bonk Shigar on the noggin and drag him off into a hidden door. As it turns out, Alia is the leader of the rebels and the king's daughter. The rebels didn't kill the queen. In fact, they're not rebels at all, but instead a secret society that exists to make sure the royal bloodline is maintained. They found the infant Alia by her slain mother and spirited her away in order to keep her safe. She tells us that she will be willing to give us Krauhaus if I deliver to her a shield called the Shield of the Ancients. Y'all remember that ghost and dial puzzle I told you about earlier? The one in the crypts? Well, that puzzle gets us the Shield of the Ancients. Hell, I already had the shield in my inventory. I thought the whole thing was just a side quest. So I got the fancy first ring. Now, on to the snake women. So here we have to get the second fancy ring. This is held by the Snake Women, and they're just not gonna hand it over. They're gonna make us do puzzles. Now, I will say, to the game's credit, almost all of the puzzles have logical solutions. Even the more esoteric ones seem to follow a kind of logic. But some of these just made me angry, and not because they were moon logic puzzles, because most of the time I had the right idea, I just wasn't doing one aspect of it properly. I originally had an entire bit in the script that I cut that was just bitching about some of the jankier aspects of these puzzles, but I want you to experience it for yourself. However, I do have an artistic rendition depicting my time in the snake puzzle maze. Fuck you and your puzzles. We get the second fancy ring. Now let's go smash this stone. The stone is gone, but Akba has become too powerful, and no longer needs it to manifest itself within Arx. I should go talk to the king and see what needs to happen next. Pain. Just pain. I don't remember the last time a game hit me with a wall so fucking hard, and this wall didn't just hit me, this wall made sure to break my fucking knees after I was down. So, I teleport back to the castle, because fuck walking all the way back, to find that the Yilsids have sieged the castle and are now roaming about. Now, up until this point, the toughest thing I've had to fight was the mummies, and that's only because they paralyze you when they get close. Most fights in Arx are just circle-strafing trash fights, where you just stay just out of the enemy's reach and wait until they attack and then you attack. Not with the Yilsids, because the first thing they do is cast a speed spell on them and then proceed to beat you to death with a giant sword. Did I mention they kill me in 3 to 5 hits? That's not me over-embellishing. They attack so fast it looks like they're fucking speed hacking. It's fucked. I genuinely thought I was going to have to restart and reroll my character here, because at no point in the game did I feel this defenseless and underpowered. In straight melee, these fuckers are near unkillable, or at least they bloody seem like it. Let me show you the pain I felt playing this. And this was just the stuff I recorded. There's about an hour of this where I just stopped recording entirely. Oh, did I also mention that with a decent enough casting spell, you can kill them with 2 to 3 fireballs? What? Fireballs? You mean the spell? One of the first spells you get in the game? A spell that I'm pretty sure you can cast with minimal, almost default points in casting? We fight through the castle and make our way to the dungeon.
Kultar, it was all a trap to get rid of you, Shigar.
Oh, thank God you're here, Kultar. At least something good could come from this fucking nightmare. Kultar leaves us his Yilsid armor to take, and then tells us to fuck off through the sewer.
Now get out of here, quick. Use the sewers. I'll make something up to tell the others.
No. You don't get to do this to me. You don't get to fuck me for over an hour getting killed by the same 3 Johnny Sins looking ass motherfuckers and then soft lock me out of progress. I can't open the cell door. I can't drop down the sewer. I tried reloading, the same thing happened. I can't. You son of a bitch. It turns out there's a guard in the teleporter room that tells you that the king has been taken to the dungeon, and if you don't talk to this man, you can't access the sewer and it soft locks your game. Even if you talk to this man, the sewer is still a bitch to get into.
Incompetence? The Guardian has escaped! Leave this pathetic kingdom to the humans and return to our refuge immediately!
Akba has almost gained enough strength to manifest into Arx, and if we're gonna send him back to the Void, we're gonna need one hell of a weapon. So what we need to do is make a weapon infused with the powder left from the meteor. Then we need to enchant said weapon in order to banish this interdimensional bitch. But there's a catch. The only thing that can transfer an enchantment that powerful is a dragon's egg. How that works exactly, I don't know. You'd have to talk to an alchemist. But luckily, I know where to find one. A dragon, I mean, not an alchemist.
I'm here because I need a dragon's egg.
Guardian, what quest has been given to you by the Nodin to request that I sacrifice my descendants like this?
Now, we can fight the dragon, but why fight when we can use commerce? Alright, now we have to forge the weapon, but to do that, we're gonna have to go down deep, down to the dwarf lair. There are no dwarves here, and their entire settlement is in shambles. Now, you see, the dwarves were down here mining for mithril, and they dug down deep, too deep. And what they found wasn't just mithril. They found something else. Something buried. Something evil. This is another area that kind of pissed me off. Similar to the snake maze, I know what I have to do. I have to break the mithril chunk down to size, take a smaller piece and smelt them into an ingot with the meteor fragment, and then I have to use the mold and the ingot to make a sword. But how the hell am I actually supposed to do that? I picked up a machine manual off the corpse, but which machine is which? I know the crusher works, but what about these two? They're just... How am I supposed to know where to put the damn mold or where to make the ingot? It feels like a situation I ran into a few times during my playthrough. I do like how little this game holds your hand, but sometimes it's too goddamn cryptic for its own good. So I'm actually going to walk you through this a little bit. You put the ore in the dust in here to get the ingot. You put the sword mold over here and the ingot up here. Now we have our fancy meteorite sword. Use the dragon's egg on the sword and now it's ready to enchant. Still not sure how that works, but I'm not going to question it. Now we're met with a decision. We can bring the sword to the snake women to enchant, but in return we will have to sell out the location of the rebels. Or we can just take an enchant scroll spell and do it ourselves. The decision, amongst a few others, determines the fate of the human kingdom. From what I can find, there are 4 outcomes. Really bad, bad, neutral, and good. I assume that the very bad ending just involves the player killing important characters. Like, I'm pretty sure there's nothing stopping you from killing almost any character in this game and still completing it, which is a damn interesting feat to have. We enchant the sword one way or another and head over to the Yilcid bunker to smack Acerbius around some. Arx does not end well. The last stretch is not fun, and it is a specific type of not fun where it is either piss easy or damn near impossible hard. On this run it was the latter, but we'll get to that in a bit. There is a mix of Yilcid and cultists in the bunker, but not nearly as much as I had feared. We clear out the bunker and come upon a room with 5 slots in the ground. I didn't like this puzzle. It felt like a rug pull or a were you paying attention test for something I didn't even know I was supposed to be paying attention to. Way back when clearing the cult hideout with the meteor, A few of the cultists had an object on them called Akba's Rock. There are 5 of these rocks total, and you need all 5 of them to proceed to the last boss. It's not particularly hard to find, but holy shit, talk about killing momentum. Get the rocks, put them down, and now we're ready to send Akba back to the Nodin. Akba is manifesting itself in Arx, and Iserbius is looking real weird. He's got a mess of tentacles now, so better kill him quick, because I've seen how this Doujin ends. And this fight fucking sucks. Akba can leech your health, pull you close to him, summon demons, shoot incredibly obnoxious lightning, and has a mean melee attack. And at least on this character can whittle my health down in a matter of seconds. But why tell when I can show? Ain't that just great, having your eardrums blown out by lightning that he spams every time you're within range? Just great. And I turned the lightning down in editing for you folks. It's much louder than this. You want to see how I had to beat this clown?
How did you? No!
Trash garbage. That was not a good feeling, and certainly not a good end for what was for the most part, a pretty damn good experience. So Amshigar's handler from the Nodum shows up and takes him and Akba back where they belong. And in the last cutscene, we get a glimpse of lights on the surface of the world, and we see that the sun didn't go out, but instead was being blocked by a cloud of space debris. So there's hope for the world yet. The gameplay of Arx feels very familiar if you've played Ultima Underworld or System Shock. You can look around and interact with things and people in the environment, and you can also untether your mouse from the camera to go into a grab mode if you want to put your mitts up on everything. Though you'll mainly be using this mode to interact with your inventory. I really like it when games have this, and I don't exactly know why. I think it's because it makes your inventory feel like an actual tangible thing that you're looking around, instead of just a hammer space that stops time when you look at it. It's that immersive tedium of searching through a big bag for that one thing you need, wondering, am I ever gonna need all this rope? Melee combat is simple. You hold mouse 1 to charge an attack, and you let go when it's charged up. No manual blocking, no parrying, just bonk the bad men and try not to get bonked yourself. While it is simple, it can be damn satisfying, with certain enemies straight up exploding with a good hit.
Not kill me!
When you get enough experience, you level up, and you can put points in 4 different attributes, that being strength, dexterity, mental, and constitution, as well as 9 skills that revolve around mage, fighter, and rogue type characters, respectively. There aren't many ways you can screw yourself when classing your character, but there are a couple. Ranged is damn near useless. I think I only saw 1 bow and 1 quiver of arrows throughout my entire playthrough, and like I said before, this is the mage game. Why shoot arrows when you can immolate people? Speaking of, let's talk about magic. Magic in Arx is by far the most interesting part of the gameplay. How it works is you find runes scattered throughout the world. Simply adding the runes to your spellbook unlocks the spells. Spells have levels 1 through 10. The higher the skill, the more points you need in casting for it to actually work. Casting the spells is where things get interesting. To cast a spell, you have to draw the required runes with your mouse. This is really neat because it makes the player feel more involved in the casting. You have to plan out what spells you want to use every fight to actually get good at drawing them out. It's a really good feeling when you start remembering the runes that you need to commonly use for your spells, and actually pulling off the spells in the heat of combat feels good, if not a bit janky. You can also precast 3 spells to be used with a hotkey, but you have to draw them out each time beforehand. Like most of the rest of Arx, there is a fair bit of jankiness to this. Some runes are similar to others and the game gets confused on what you're trying to cast. It can be cumbersome when you mess up one rune and you have to restart the spell. And sometimes the game can be extremely picky at recognizing what you're trying to write at all. Libertatis does try and fix this a bit, but it's still pretty janky. Let's talk about books. Character stats, journal, map, and spells are all designated to this book interface, and honestly, it needs work. I love the aesthetic of it. Oblivion would do something similar 4 years later, but the Arx interface is clunky and pretty ugly to boot. It has all these little tabs that are hard to see and a pain to navigate. I don't know if this is just a me thing, but I always found that the character screen is hard to read. The spells section looks cluttered, and the pictures for the runes don't always match up with the exact shape you need to draw. The journal itself is a mess. It doesn't track down information quest by quest, but instead just throws everything together in an unorganized mess of pages. And on top of that, it seems like the journal is actually very selective in what information it deems important to jot down. The inventory on the bottom of the screen is also a bit of a hassle. To start off, you get one bag that appears at the bottom of the screen, but later you can find more bags to add to it. But when you find one of these upgrades, it doesn't make the first bag bigger, it just adds another bag you can cycle through. You have to press a button on the side of the inventory to cycle through the bags, and you can't click drag from one bag to another. So sorting your inventory is kind of a nightmare. You have to take things and put them out of one bag and then cycle to the bag you want them in and then pick them all up and put them back in that bag. If there's any game that would benefit from an auto sort button for the inventory, Arx is definitely it. Something that is missing from Arx that most other RPGs have is dialogue options. You never get to choose a response when speaking with characters, which would have been nice, and maybe characters having more to say would have helped clear up some of the game's more cryptic aspects. This kind of goes into another thing I wanted to talk about Arx, and that is that Arx is a very lean game. There's very little fat on it. There's only a handful of side quests, and there isn't much in terms of repeatable content. There are no generic go find my magic shoes side quests or grinding for better loot. Everything is static, and to be honest, it's kind of refreshing. Having a smaller, more focused scope for a game like this makes everything you do feel more relevant. Every side quest is a little story that was thought out to fit into the game's world. And it makes the world feel deeper than it actually is. Every side quest and distraction you do has a reason to be there. It makes it feel more like an adventure, instead of mindlessly wandering around the realm doing errands. But back to the dialogue. Another way that the lack of a dialogue system makes things weird is when dealing with merchants and turning in certain quests. I remember getting tripped up because I had to buy something from a character late game and didn't immediately realize that I had to use the coin purse on the side of the screen on the NPC to complete the transaction, or having to use a specific item on a character instead of just talking to them and then delivering it to them that way. And it's weird clunkiness like that that permeates itself into almost every aspect of Arx's gameplay. It's definitely weird, and it definitely takes some getting used to, but once you wrap your head around it, Arx is an absolute blast to play. The magic system was one thing, but where I think Arx truly sets itself apart from other games is with its atmosphere. Arx may be one of the most atmospheric games I've played, and I can say that based on the audio design alone. Here's some of the ambience you'll be experiencing when playing Arx Fatalis. The sounds do such a wonderful job of hammering in the oppressive atmosphere of a life underground. There are also times when the sound can take a downright spooky turn, with certain areas through Arx having a scarier atmosphere than some honest-to-God horror games. And sometimes the ambience can go downright ethereal. I love the way this game sounds. I love how lonely and alien its world feels. It's not like other RPGs where you're traversing these fantastical environments accompanied by subtle or comforting music or ambience. When walking around Arx, you are always aware of the brutally oppressive environment you're in. In terms of visuals, Arx is a mixed bag. The environment and the lighting effects are all phenomenally done, especially for a game from '02. The visuals are also complemented by a wonderful art style and world design. I love how you start in a pretty standard medieval-looking setting, but the more you explore and the further you descend into the tunnels, the more strange and alien things become. I also appreciate how thoughtfully the world is designed. It feels like they were actually trying to design a functional place instead of a video game level. One aspect where Arx falls flat is with the character and weapon models, specifically. They're not very good. The human models in particular seem to have gotten the worst of it. The weapon models are also chunky and poorly textured. The chunkiness of the models I personally don't mind, but the blurry, low-quality textures is a lot more difficult to ignore. The last thing I'm going to bring up here is how much I hate this minimap. As you walk around, you kind of paint the little minimap, and it drives me fucking crazy, because I feel like I can never get it all, and I have to walk around and hug every wall and surface just to fill it out. I wish you just filled in a solid chunk of the map as you walked around, or even just did away with the auto map entirely, just relying on maps that you find or buy. It drives me fucking crazy and I hate it. It feels like using the MS Paint spray tool and I can't stand it. Overall though, I will say that Arx does more right with its visuals and its sound design than it does wrong. The low poly models and the somewhat shoddy texturing are outdone by some absolutely stunning atmosphere, sound design, and art style. Arx Fatalis is the definition of a rough gem. It has a cool setting, a well thought out world, interesting gameplay and mechanics, killer presentation, and really needs another coat of polish. You can definitely tell that it was the first game released by a studio, but what it does right, it does phenomenally well. I love my time with this game, and I'm glad that I finally decided to finish it after years of starting it then stopping for one reason or another. It may not sit as high in my list of favorite games as System Shock or System Shock 2, but it's definitely pretty far up there. It's a game that definitely deserves more love and recognition than it gets, and I really wish we could get some sort of spiritual successor or maybe even a sequel, but that's more of a pipe dream. One thing I did not expect playing Arx was just how much adventure game DNA it had in it. I would say that the ratio of combat to puzzles is pretty evenly spread. You spend a lot of this game just walking around and problem solving and sleuthing, and I really enjoyed that. It was definitely a different taste from the games that I usually play, and even when I did end up having to consult the internet, the answers were usually pretty logical. When I got tripped up, it was often because I wasn't paying attention and only occasionally was the result of jank or things being overly cryptic. I was actually kind of surprised how little moon logic there was. Finally beating Arx has also really made me feel that I need to go back and play the Ultima Underworld games. They've been on my list of games for years, but I've always put off braving those depths. But not right now, though. I've had enough of caves and tunnels. I want to spend some time outside. Alright, that's all for today. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Go play Arx if you haven't. I'm pretty sure at full price and on Steam and GOG it's only about $5. And it goes on sale pretty often for like $1, so go play it. You'll have a good time. Now I have to figure out what game I'm gonna do next. And yeah, if you have any recommendations for anything, I would love to hear them in the comments. So until next time, stay safe and take care. You know, I hear Poland is nice. And you could double jump? Fuck!